So I have these 6 questions that I'm supposed to try to answer, and I'll do my best. Who am I and what is my expertise? I work for Azavia. We're a small software development firm based here in Philadelphia, about 35 people, most of them here in Philadelphia, but also satellite offices around the country. We are about half software engineers and about half GIS analysts, and to paraphrase a way that Mark introduced himself once before, we hack geodata. We build software applications that use geographic data to do analysis and visualization. We do not build open data portals. This was a very different project for us. It was primarily one that we did as a public service. We're known as something known as a B corporation. How many people here know what a B corporation is? Oh, a pretty good chunk. That's great. B corporations are also a local Philadelphia development. The organization that certifies B corporations is based here. A B corporation is basically a for-profit company that operates with a non-profit mission. It's a sort of social enterprise. So a chunk of what we do, we obviously are a business, but a good chunk of that business is aimed at fulfilling a social mission. So Open Data Philly is very much part of that. This particular project's mission is to provide a simple catalog of publicly available data, APIs, and data-centric applications. This does not host the data. It's more like a card catalog for finding data related to the civic environment, whether it's from SEPTA, the City of Philadelphia, nonprofit organizations, universities, or and even businesses. This fulfills a couple of the different values that Paul and Jeff mentioned earlier: civic engagement and participation, as well as the free flow of information. As Chris said, this launched just about 1 year ago in this place. It has been successful beyond our expectations. It's not only has the ability to search through lots of different data sets. I think we've got about a couple of hundred of them now, not all of them from the city, but also to find out more information about them, connect to APIs, get documentation for them, and so on. So why do we think this has been successful? Well, it didn't end when we rolled it out. We have had submissions from dozens of different organizations, individuals who have built applications at hackathons, people who have built APIs that scrape data from city sites, people who take Philadelphia data and create applications out of it, and so on. These are just a few of those. People have nominated data sets on here, and we have had a great deal of success from our perspective in the sense that some of these nominations really got done. So Mike was up here earlier, and we owe him and his colleagues a real debt of thanks, but SEPTA data was one of the most requested data sets on Open Data Philly over the last year, and last June, I think it was, they rolled out their first API, and they have just been rocking the city since then. They have rolled out probably an API about every 3 or 4 months, and have really been a huge success, and many new applications built on top of that. Here's some examples of those applications that have been built not just by SEPTA, but by the community. Last fall, we ran something called the Open Data Race. This was done in collaboration with technically Philly, but also with the City of Philadelphia, with NPower PA and others. What we tried to do here was get nonprofit organizations looking at the kinds of data sets that the City of Philadelphia has, identifying those that would provide real social value for the public if they were available, and then nominating them. And the public was able to vote on those. And we got thousands of votes in October last year, and 3 of those received cash prizes provided by the William Penn Foundation. And some of these are now on their way to becoming public data. This was not one of the top 3 winners, but did get a lot of votes. It was Philadelphia Bike Racks. Another one that was a very common one was L&I data, and we look forward to seeing a release of that later this year. After we rolled out, we had a number of requests from other cities to make the code that we use to build Open Data Philly available to the public. So we open sourced this, basically stripped out the Philadelphia specific things, and created what we call Open Data Catalog. And fixed a couple of bugs and added a few small features, but then people started using it, and it's now in place, I think, either in process or already rolled out in about a dozen different cities around the world. And we just had a sold-out Hangout, Google Hangout last week, in which we started to talk about where's it going to go from here. And for me, it's been particularly rewarding to see the work that was done locally here now being used and being seen as a model for how to do things around the country. And oftentimes, not necessarily relying on the city government to get something done, but in collaboration with that government, doing something that's really a public-private, nonprofit collaboration. We don't define success on Open Data Philly as data sets. We'd love to see data added to it, but rather than counting up the data sets, we really want to see people building community around that data, creating a constituency for using it, doing hackathons, having community events, building things around it that make our communities better. Some of the other successes that we look at are, in this respect, have been the number of hackathons in the region in the last year, many of which took up data from Open Data Philly as topics and problem statements. New applications that are being built that are now also models around the country. This is shelter.org, which is focused on homeless shelter and food cupboards and soup kitchens. In terms of next steps, where are we going from here? We're looking forward to working further with the city on seeing more data released. I think there'll be some announcements later this week from the mayor around open data. We're very excited to hear more about that. We are actually looking forward to handing off Open Data Philly. When we launched this last year, I said very publicly, I don't think we should be doing this meaning as Avia. I don't think it's the best thing for a private firm to be operating, and so we have been talking to a number of different organizations from last year that could be potential stewards for this, and we think we have a path forward, and we'll be looking forward to announcing more about that later this year. And then finally, advancing the platform, working with folks around the country, Code for America, folks like Mark Head and his colleagues to improve on this and make it more useful to others. My 6 words are: open data catalyzes